Thursday at 12 p.m., where you find education on topics that matter to you. I'm your host, Angelique Jackson. I'm the Manager of Business Development and Marketing here at CESLC, and I thank you so much for joining us. And today, Deborah Adler with Jessa joins us to lead a discussion on the Holocaust Survivor Program. Thank you so much for joining us, Deborah.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Jessa?
Sure. So I'm the manager of the Holocaust Survivor Program. We have a grant funded program through the Claims Conference. And basically we serve about 400 Holocaust survivors in the greater Washington area. We have a team of care managers who are assigned to each survivor, and we can provide home care, homemaker services, transportation to medical appointments, medication, minor home modification, some nutrition services, and some socialization services. In addition to the Claims Conference, we also are very grateful to other donors, the state of Maryland, the state of Virginia. We also get funding from the Jewish Federation of Greater Washington and the Jewish Federations of North America, JSSA, and also other family foundations and individual donors.
Oh, goodness. So that's a lot of partners, a lot of big partners. Thank you. So I guess let's back up a little bit. So you work for Jessa. For folks like me who are not from this area, what does Jessa stand for?
So Jessa doesn't stand for anything. It used to stand for Jewish Social Service Agency, but now we're just Jessa, JSSA.
So JSSA, just Jessa now. And then you mentioned in the name Jewish. Is it do you just serve the Jewish population?
Jessa serves everyone of all faiths and backgrounds.
Oh, okay, good. So if anyone didn't know, Jessa serves all backgrounds. Thank you. And then how long has Jessa been servicing the community?
Jessa has been serving the greater Washington community for about 120 years.
Wow. So that's longevity.
Thank
you. So, yes, you kind of went over your role and a little bit about the description of the program, just a little overview. What attracted you to this particular program?
Well, I've been working in aging services for over 20 years, and in my younger days, I also earned a master's in Russian area studies, and so honestly, I never thought that I would find a position which combined my two passions. But I see my predecessor on the call, hi Ellen, and when Ellen Blaylock retired, there was an opportunity to join Jessa in this position, and it's the perfect match of my background and my passions, really.
So a nice marriage of expertise and passion. I mean, everybody should be so lucky.
Yes.
And I'm sure you're doing her proud as she sees us today. So this particular, I know that Jessa's been serving the community for over 120 years, but this particular program, the Holocaust Survivor Program, how long has it been operating?
Since the 1990s.
Oh, okay. So can you tell us about how it was born, the idea for this program, and why they created it?
So as I mentioned before, this program is predominantly funded by the Claims Conference, which is the short term for the Conference on Jewish Material Claims Against Germany. And when after the Holocaust, the Claims Conference started to negotiate with the German government to get reparations on behalf of people who had suffered during the Holocaust. And so initially, the definition of a Holocaust survivor was people who had been in the concentration camps, in ghettos, or in hiding for more than 4 months, or someone with who was hiding under a false identity. And over the years, through continuous negotiations, that definition of Holocaust survivor has been expanded.
Okay.
So in 2008, people who survived the siege of Leningrad were included as Holocaust survivors, and then a few years later, people within 60 miles of the unoccupied territories of the border were included, and then just this past year, people who survived open ghettos in Bulgaria and Romania were included as Holocaust survivors. So the Claims Conference is a huge advocate of Holocaust survivors all over the world, and just trying to give them some semblance of help. You know, nothing can replace what these individuals went through, but they're trying to do something on their behalf.
And then it's nice to know that as the years have progressed, that the term has, or the description of survivor has expanded. Your reach to include so many other people that were affected. So that's amazing. Thank you. And then, so you've already answered my question about a description of survivor. There are different types.
Right.
Yeah.
So people have different persecution histories, and today at Jessa, about 91% of the people we serve are from the former Soviet Union. So they survived on the Eastern Front, and they fled the Nazis. Had they not fled their shtetls, they would have been killed.
Okay.
So that's who we're serving mostly.
And I'm sure it's an honor. And then you mentioned the word shtetl. Can you tell me what
a shtetl is a small village.
Okay.
If you've ever seen Fiddler on the Roof, that's a shtetl where the people live. So many of the folks that we serve, families had been living in shtetls. When they came from the Soviet Union in the 1990s, or the former Soviet Union, most had been living in big cities by that time. Okay.
And then I never even thought of, you mentioned folks were living under false identities. I never even, imagined to put that into perspective. And
yes.
So, wow, it's very heavy, very unique population.
Yeah.
And like I keep saying, I know it's an honor to serve them. So you mentioned all these wonderful services that your program provides to support. What does that care delivery look like?
So each client that we serve, and we serve about 400, has a care manager. And we follow a model of person-centered trauma-informed care. So we recognize that the trauma that people have been through by promoting their well-being and safety, and at the same time, we promote self-determination and individual choice, person-centered. And so one of the things that we do is we try to provide services for people in the language in which they feel most comfortable. Many people who come from the former Soviet Union came in their later years and have limited English proficiency.
Right.
So we try to match them with a bilingual care manager, someone who can speak Russian and English. So right now we have 8 bilingual care managers, and we have 4 English-only care managers.
Oh, wow. So this is where we talked about when your passion for the Russian language.
Right, and culture.
And culture, right.
Yeah.
And so, and is there a charge? Well, let me back up, because I really wanted to talk about, you mentioned trauma-informed patient-centered care.
Right.
Does this include, because I can imagine, suffering a trauma like this, it reverberates to future generations.
Right.
How are the families involved? Are they part of this care?
So the care managers work very closely with the families if the clients allow them to, but we also have other programs where families are involved. We were fortunate to have a grant from the JFNA Center for Aging and Trauma, and we're able to do advanced planning with our clients so they could decide how they wanted to live out their lives, and so families have been really involved in that. We also, in the past, have done small socialization events, and just this past year, because of the pandemic and because so many things had to change, we couldn't operate as we usually do. We invited clients to participate in an inspiration book. It was called Inspiration for a Time Like This. And this was also funded by JFNA. And we invited them to share something that gives them joy. And so people could talk about their hobbies, or a funny story, or a recipe, or a poem, and everyone contributed. And then we encourage people to submit in the language in which they feel most comfortable.
Right, of course. And
then we had volunteers help us translate this book. And so we created a book, and then we were able to send this book out to everyone. And it was so meaningful to people. We sent it out just before New Year's. And because the New Year in the former Soviet Union is such an important holiday, it was so meaningful to our clients who knew that they weren't forgotten and knew that they had been cared about. And families were included in that. But we try to do a lot of things to let our clients know that they haven't been forgotten. We do know we're going through a pandemic, but we show that we care for them. And we have the most dedicated and compassionate group of care managers you could ever find on the planet.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so we just have an amazing team of people.
So the Book of Inspiration. And so what a befitting time to have it sent out to your survivors and their families around the new year, especially what we went through this last year. And I'm thinking, how big was this book? Because you said you serviced about 400 survivors in the area.
Not everyone participated, but enough did, and it's a really wonderful book. Another thing that we did that was a little out of the box was also through funding from JFNA, we delivered flowers on Victory Day. You might know it as VE Day. But to commemorate the end of the war, we delivered flowers to every single client household. And
that's beautiful.
You know, we went in full PPE and, didn't go inside, went to the door. But it was so meaningful to the people that we serve.
I can imagine the gratitude that they must have had, everything that everybody has been through this last year and a half over that now, and just to see someone, with flowers at the door, I'm sure that gave them a lot of inspiration during this time.
We hope so.
Yes.
We definitely hope so.
So, and then you mentioned, some of the care managers and volunteers. So obviously, there's a lot of folks that can volunteer their time. But the care managers, are they paid staff, or is
care managers are paid staff, and they assess the clients to determine what their needs are. Okay. So not every client is getting the same services. And then volunteers are really critically important. They deliver Meals on Wheels, they deliver holiday baskets. We had a program where they were going into people's homes and helping them with the technology that they already own. So if someone's child gave them a phone and they don't know how to silence it, a volunteer was going in to help
helpful
with that. We also, for many years, through a generous donor, we've done Cafe Europa, which is a huge celebration. It's like a bar mitzvah without the service. And we had a lot of volunteers help us to make that go off without a hitch.
So it sounds like there's a lot of great people that are dedicated, just donating their own time and energy.
Absolutely. And if you're interested, you can go to the volunteer section of Jessa website and you can find out what opportunities there are right now.
Absolutely. And then also, I just want to remind everyone as we're talking and we're discussing, have some of your questions available so that we could answer them. That's our favorite part of the Insider. So get those questions ready for us. So this is a wonderful program. How can your survivors access this program?
So if there are survivors in the community who are not a part of this program and would like to be a part of it, they can call me at 301-816-2657, and I believe that's going to be put in the chat.
Yes, we'll put it in the chat.
But there are, because this is grant funded, there are criteria for participating in the program. So first of all, the person has to be living independently in our service area.
Okay.
Our service area is the greater Washington, D.C. area. Most of the people we serve live in Montgomery County, but we serve about 50 or so folks in Northern Virginia, and then a handful in D.C. and in Prince George's County as well.
Wow.
The second criteria is that a person needs to be verified by the claims conference as a Holocaust survivor. And so if someone hasn't been verified and they need to know how to do that, they can give me a call and I can help them through that process. And then the third criteria is they have to meet certain financial criteria to get into the program. Someone cannot earn more than $50,000 per year, not including any retirement income, to get into the program, and they can't have more than $997,000 in assets, not including their home or their car. Now, that might sound like a lot, but the majority of the people we serve are on SSI, and they're subsisting on less than $800 a month. And our care managers are critically important because they help them get food stamps, housing vouchers, Medicaid, and without this program, I don't know how people really can live in this very expensive metro area that we're in.
Very expensive, so it's really important that they do have the care manager. Not only can you grant them resources to...
Right, but what they do is they determine what the person's needs are, and then they go out and find it in the community.
Right.
So this is a very resource-rich community, and we're very fortunate to be here, and everything helps. I'm sure. And so then it's also helpful to know that you help them with, getting their status as a survivor. Sure.
Yeah.
So we'll point them in that direction. That's really something that the claims conference will do. And they're wonderful. You can call and you can choose the language in which you want to speak. And they have a great team of people who can help someone through that process.
Okay, that's amazing to know. And then we did talk about, so you did go over some of the qualifications. You're good, because that was going to be my next question. And we talked about income limits, where they need to be. Is there a charge for any of your services? No, we don't charge for our services. Everything is made possible through grants or through our generous donors. Wow, that's huge. That's huge. That's huge. And then you did mention Meals on Wheels. Right. Do you keep kosher? So our Meals on Wheels are through the Hebrew Home, so they're the same as your Meals on Wheels. So we know the answer to that. We keep kosher here. We love the partnership we have with you. Wonderful. Yeah. And you did mention a little bit about some of the challenges that you've had amongst COVID and, delivering care with your program. is there any other ways that it's changed, or what other
Sure.
adaptations that you've made in the face of that challenge?
So pre-COVID, our care managers were calling every client at least once a month, more if needed, and they were also doing home visits once a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So when COVID came, we realized that we couldn't put our clients at risk, and we had to stop doing the quarterly visits.
Mm-hmm.
So now care managers are still reaching out by phone or by video chat, or meeting people outside at a safe distance, and they can go into people's homes if necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Jessa is a county COVID testing site, so anytime someone goes into the office or into the field, including someone's home, we test, and we also have PPE protocol.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to our Chief Medical Officer, Amy Schiffman, has put all of these things in place, so we can help take care of our clients and do it in a way where we take their health and safety into account to the utmost.
Wonderful, because, you know,
Mhm.
everybody knows everybody, you know, has kind of had to shift their efforts or reimagine them, and, you know.
Yeah. The other thing is we were very fortunate in March of 2020 to have a grant through the Network of Jewish Human Service Agencies, and we can provide a product called Uniper. It's through an Israeli company called Uniper Care. It's a social engagement platform, and it's attached to someone's TV. We're meeting people where they are. We know that a lot of our folks may not be proficient at using the computer, but most everyone knows how to use a TV, and Uniper Care has developed this very simple remote control.
Mm-hmm.
So people can participate in programs in real time.
Wow.
And it's through their TV, so they can do exercise classes, or they can do poetry. We actually have someone from our Human Resources Department, Karina Shah, who is a certified Zumba instructor, and
Mm-hmm.
she has been leading a Russian-speaking chair Zumba class through Uniper.
Wow.
Then there's also a downloadable video library, and then there's also a way that clients can video chat and get send pictures to family and friends through a WhatsApp kind of feature. So right now we have about 94 of our clients who are in this program. So that has really, really been critical during the pandemic. Many of our clients who live in Montgomery County have, prior to the pandemic, attended Russian language adult daycares.
Okay.
And during the pandemic, those were closed. They're starting to reopen, but not everyone is comfortable going back. And so it's these things like Uniper that really make a difference in people's lives.
I can imagine. So Uniper was born in the face of COVID.
Well, it was born before.
Okay.
It was developed by an Israeli who had a mom who he felt was socially isolated, and he partnered with a few folks, and now Uniper has offices not only in Israel but also in LA.
Oh, wow.
And so we were very fortunate to get a grant to offer this program to our clients, but it's popping up in communities all over the U.S. in Jewish social service agencies and in other agencies like veterans agencies and in area agencies on aging. People know that this is a good thing.
Yeah, it is, and it's a way to stay connected in our.
And that's so important for especially for our clients.
Yes, especially for your unique population.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to stay connected, and you have your tech volunteers to help them set everything up.
Right. So we aren't doing that program right now, but when we did set up Uniper in people's homes, we had 2 lead care managers who would go in full PPE and set this up
Wow.
to make it possible for people.
I'm impressed with the dedication of the staff, the above and beyond, and even the fact that, you know, so many people donate their time and energy. It's pretty amazing.
This program is possible because of the compassion and dedication of so many people.
So many people in it. We have our own group of survivors here on our campus as well. I know we honor them. We host an annual breakfast and remembrance every spring at our greenhouse community. So,
oh, wonderful.
Yeah, we also try to find ways to honor them as well. And so you would say the majority of your recipients are Russian speaking?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. All right. Well, it's that 30-minute mark, and we're excited for any questions that anybody has.
So Ellen wanted me to mention how the public can support the Jessa Holocaust Survivor Program and how much that is appreciated. If you go on to the giving section of the Jessa website, there are instructions about how to give to this program, and it's just incredible what a donation can do in the life of a survivor. And Ellen Blaylock, my predecessor, actually we established different pro bono programs in the community. We are fortunate to be able to provide pro bono dental, pro bono hearing aid programs, and a pro bono optical program to our neediest clients. And people can help with all kinds of things. They can help with transportation to dental, not to actually provide the transportation, but to give money so that we can pay for the transportation.
So they can donate money.
They can donate that.
Okay.
But there are so many different ways that people can get involved, and it's so appreciated.
Now, Ellen, that was my final question. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Angelique.
So there's so many ways.
It's Robin. I've got a couple of questions that were sent over, some to me directly. So I'll just throw them out there and then you guys can discuss them. One of the questions was, are there programs available to adult children of survivors?
So through the claims conference, there is not a program for adult children right now. As I mentioned, they're in continual negotiations with the German government to provide programs for adult children, the second generation, but they don't have anything right now. But we just put in an application to JFNA, Jewish Federations of North America, to offer a program to the second generation for advanced planning. We really think it's really important for Holocaust survivors to have advanced planning documents in place so that they can have control of how to live out their life. That's powers of attorneys for healthcare, for financial, simple wills, and we do that through a partnership with Bet Tzedek and through Arnold and Porter.
Okay.
So we want to take it one step further and involve the adult children because they are so critical in helping Holocaust survivors make decisions. And so hopefully we'll have programs very soon. Yes, and as we mentioned before, trauma reverberates through generations. It definitely does. So that's very important resource.
Great. Another question we had was, are there volunteer opportunities for teens?
Good question.
So teens have to be a certain age because we do a criminal background check, and you can't do a background check on anyone. I think it's under 18. Okay. But teens can volunteer if they have a parent who can go with them.
Oh.
So take a look at that volunteer section of the Jessa website and you can see what opportunities there are. But we always need people for Meals on Wheels. And I know folks are so appreciative to get to, to see a young person. So that would be a great opportunity. But there are lots of other opportunities too.
Thank you.
Great.
Robin, is there another question?
Yes, there is. A couple. Is it possible to get a copy of the inspiration book?
I know I was going to ask. I want to see this book.
Sure. So actually, our clients filled out a release, so we can share it, and we can send a electronic copy. So if you want to just email me, and I would be happy to send it out. And I think my email is going to be up in the chat, but it's dadler@jssa.org, and you can just email me, and I would be happy to share that.
Yeah,
it's amazing. It's really amazing.
We all need a little inspiration, don't we?
Absolutely.
And then this question is from Kathleen. What is Jessa's current rate of pay to providers? And what is the max amount of hours allowed for caregivers?
Kathleen, that is a very complicated question. So I'll start with the maximum amount. So everyone is assessed, and we use a special assessment tool that the claims conference provides for us. And so everybody is eligible for a certain amount of hours. Right now, because we live in such an expensive area, we had to increase our rates.
Okay.
So we had to match for private aids. We had to match the minimum wage rate in Montgomery County of $15 per hour. So that's what if people hire their own private aid, that's what they get reimbursed at. And then we have we reimburse agencies at $19.50 per hour.
Okay.
And that is because the Medicaid rate went up twice in the past year.
Yeah.
And so we have to match the Medicaid rate, or agencies aren't going to want to work with us.
Mm-hmm. So
that puts us in a bit of a predicament because we had to raise our rates. We have less dollars for our clients, and so we have tremendous unmet needs right now. We have over $1 million in unmet needs. It's very complicated, but it's based on the assessment tool that we use. Mm-hmm. And in the past, when a care manager said, so-and-so needs more hours, can we give them more hours? I would say yes, and they can start immediately. And now, over the past year, we've had to put the brakes on that, and we've had to say, we can't provide those extra hours now. We report those unmet needs to the claims conference, so they're aware, and they use it in their negotiations with the German government. But we aren't able to provide all of the home care hours that our clients need right now. So that would be, something, if somebody wanted to donate to the program, that would be huge.
Donations, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Here's $1 million worth of unmet needs.
Yeah.
And let me see here. Another question. Kathleen McGinnis. And so we just wanted to mention too, Kathleen McGinnis is the Director of Community Relations for Smith Life Home Care.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so we have a wonderful partnership together.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
So just want to mention that that we really do advocate for clients who are unaware that Jessa Holocaust grant funds for home care. Mm-hmm. So we just make sure that we advocate.
Angelique, sorry, I keep chiming in. I've got another question here. What contact do you have with the Generation After group here in the Washington area?
So, so that's a really interesting question. We do have some care managers who participate in that group. Because we're a social service program, anything that we do with that group is informal. It's not formal, but we do know about what's going on, and we, from time to time, will go and speak to that group. We also have a lot of our clients pre-pandemic were docents at the Holocaust Museum, and a lot of them are part of that group. Mm-hmm. So we know about them, but our focus is really providing social welfare services, and then we partner with those groups and let them do what they're best at.
Great answer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, another good question from Marty. He's asking, or she, excuse me, how much do you spend on each survivor?
It's different depending on the survivor. Some clients don't need it very much. Maybe they need homemaker services. Mm-hmm. Maybe, but some clients need a lot, and maybe they need 24/7 care. So the most we can spend is $148,000 a year, but we can't spend that on,
right.
I mean, well, we can't spend that on everybody, because then we wouldn't have any money after January, because our year starts in January. Mm-hmm. So it just depends on what the person needs.
Okay, so it's very individualized.
It is very individualized.
Very individualized. Thank you for that question.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess Ms. Ann is asking us to talk a little bit more in depth about all of the programs available to the survivors. I know you did go over a description of each, but...
So let me go through the process a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
So the care manager is assigned to the client and meets with the client and assesses the client's needs, and we look at activities of daily living, instrumental activities of daily living, and also the home environment, whether they have family support, whether they live in a safe environment. Mm-hmm. And depending on that, we can offer home care, homemaker services, transportation to medical appointments, nutrition, medication reimbursement, medical reimbursement. We can offer some socialization. Mm-hmm. So it just depends. And if you have questions about a specific program, I would be happy to go into that. But it's not the same for every single person. It's very person-centered, trauma-informed.
Right, and so it seems like you try to tackle each aspect, the social, the psychological, and the spiritual, mm-hmm. and then everything based on your assessment, which I'm sure is very, how long is this assessment? Is it an hour? I'm sure it's very detailed, and then you're able to kind of determine what support, additional support they need.
Exactly,
yeah.
Exactly, and it's very objective so that it's fair to everybody in yeah. the program. Yeah, and I don't know how long it takes. It depends on the person.
Right.
Some people talk a lot, and some people don't talk very much, so it just depends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, and thank you for that question, and thank you so much. Appreciate you going over that again for us. And I think...
One more quick question. Can I give you one more?
Sure.
Sorry, last question. Are there programs like this in other parts of the United States?
There are. There are programs like this all over the world. As you probably know, most Holocaust survivors live in Israel, so there are programs in Israel, but the Claims Conference has social welfare grantees in in communities all over. And if you go to their website, you can see actually where these programs are located. So sometimes we have people who are living in Florida and they want to come up to the DC area. And so we can help other communities and support survivors no matter where they decide to live.
Wow. So that's nice. So the reach is far and wide.
Yes.
And sometimes international.
Yes. Yes. We have a couple whose kids live in Toronto, and so they spend 6 months in the DC area and 6 months in Toronto.
Wow.
And we collaborate with that agency to make sure their needs are met.
So it's very nice to know that you have contacts and you're able to refer, internationally and in between states. That's very important because, people move.
Yes.
People move around.
Right. Yeah, we just had 2 clients leave to go to St. Louis to be near their children, and so, we make it work.
That was a great question, and I think you already answered this. Gail's asking, what contacts do you have with the Generation After group here in the Washington area?
Yes, and we answered that.
We did answer that. I apologize. Thank you. Do you have any other questions, Robin?
No, I believe that's all I've got.
Thank you. So we kind of went over. I wanted to ask, how can we support Jessa and all of their agencies and programs that you guys provide to the community? Once again, tell them how they can support you guys.
So go to our website and you can visit the volunteer section for volunteer opportunities. You can go to the giving section if you would like to make a donation to Jessa or Jessa's Holocaust Survivor Program. And then we also have an amazing training institute, and you can look for the Jessa Training Institute to see what opportunities there are there as well.
So the Training Institute, I guess, and so you do have educational programs that you present to the community at large?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Some are for professionals and they offer continuing education, and then there are other ones that are for the community at large.
Oh, wonderful. So you do offer continuing education for professionals. That's helpful to know. And then which section was that on the website?
I believe that's under the Jessa Training Institute.
Okay, so Jessa Training, you said that. Didn't you? Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that we need to know? Is there anything that we missed?
I don't know, but if anyone thinks of anything after, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to anyone and talk to you about the program. This is an amazing program. I'm so grateful to be a part of it, and we have an amazing team of care managers, and you just couldn't ask for a better group. So thank you for allowing me to be here today and sharing our program.
No, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, this has been very educational for me. It's a topic that I was interested in myself, and I just really feel like this is such a valuable program and such a valuable program that you run. And again, we thank you. And thank you, everybody, for joining us as well. If you have any questions, again, you can reach out to Deborah. We have put her contact information here in the comment section for you guys. And we hope you have an amazing day. Thank you so much.